So hey there, I hope you're doing good. So my name's Roshan and I own RZ Mediascape where we help clothing brands scale to multiple six and seven figures in the shortest time possible. And why do I make these videos? I see a lot of clothing brand founders out there that are struggling and do not have the right information to grow their clothing brands. And yeah, that's pretty much why I make these videos so you guys can find it helpful, right? So the topic of today's video is how to grow your clothing brand to seven figures, like literally seven figures, leveraging your existing customers. Like that's simple. And trust me, if you do not have this system in place, it's pretty much guaranteed that you're not going to scale to seven figures, at least from what I can see from my experience. So yes, I don't want to waste any of your time. I know how valuable time is, and I'll just get straight to the point, and I'll do my best to explain all these strategies that I'm about to present, right? So to begin with, there are so many clothing brand founders out there that are just obsessing over competing against price, clothing designs, paid advertising, and so on and so forth. Um, Anyone that I possibly have spoke to before in the past, they're always saying, "Oh, I have these competitive prices, and my competitors do not have these prices, or I'm charging competitively, and they just have this." Think like this, they have this unfair advantage over this competition, which is totally wrong. I highly recommend you do high prices and do strong marketing. And nextly, clothing designs. I mean, at the end of the day, you might be able to sell some pieces with good clothing designs, but that's not long term sustainable, right? Next, paid advertising. Again, if you have these foundations wrong and doing paid advertising, spending a fortune on ads, you are not going to get anywhere, right? So basically focusing on not the main big thing in their business. This is the concept of big domino effect, right? So this is the concept that I'm about to cover in this video. So as a business owner, your main job is to focus on pushing that big one domino, right? That then will knock down all the small ones, right? So sounds interesting, right? So what do I mean by that? There are so many, like, terms, like so many things that you need to fix in your business, and usually these are all called like small dominoes, and there's just like one big domino. If you like, knock that down, it will just knock out all those things very easily, like, all the other big problems, or like, yes, the problems of your business. So one of the big things you can do as a business owner to make your customers talk about your brand more than they do, more than you do, right? Sorry. One of the big things you can do as a business owner to is to make your customers talk about your brand more than you do with your paid advertising efforts, right? So right now, I know pretty, like, I'm pretty sure that you are the one talking about your brand through ads, marketing, email marketing, like, like social media, organic posts. It's just you talking about your brand all of the time. And you have to understand this, as a team or you as a person, you only have limited capacity to reach enough people. But if you are spreading this chain of every customer that is buying from you, if they start talking about your brand, that's when you start getting some pretty crazy results, right? If you can do that, like literally seven figures is a guaranteed outcome. Like seven figures is like the minimum that you can expect, right? So well, how is that possible? And that's possible by building a movement around your brand, right? So how do you build a movement? What is a movement? You can achieve the above by building a movement and not just a clothing brand, right? So let me explain what is a movement first. When you build a movement, it's not you, it's not just about you, right? You have the brand, but it's not just you promoting it. You have the people around you that are like a community, that are like a part of something more than a clothing, like, clothing brand, or like a logo attached to a clothing brand. So building a movement is how you grow much faster at a 10x speed, right? So when you build a clothing brand, you are selling just designs, competing against the price, spending a fortune on ads just to get a few sales or decent sales. If you want a 10 to 50x return on your efforts with your clothing brand, then you have to shift your focus from you to your customers. That's it. Just focus, like, more on the customers rather than you. Just shift the focus from you to the customers, and just look at your growth rate, right? When you build a movement around your clothing brand, you're no longer convincing customers to buy from you. Instead, you make them feel like a part of the community, a movement, a status, right? When you literally make them feel like a part of the community, of movement, a status. Make them feel like that they have a status and not just wearing some random clothing. You are no longer a commodity. That's big one. You are an experience to them, and no one wants to buy from just another clothing brand. There are already many out there. Instead, you are an experience. You are a completely different thing to them. You are not just a clothing. If you look at any big brand, they have built a movement around their brand, which is why people do not judge about their prices. Instead, they want to pay as much as it costs them, and they are there for the experience, the status, right? So now, how you can build a movement, right? What should you do first? The easiest way to begin is by starting to brainstorm ideas for taglines and trends by looking at your existing customers' avatar, or your brand's avatar, customer's avatar. Come up with hashtags to post wearing your clothing. Create something fun that your customers will actually resonate with. Your customers should be so dedicated to your clothing that even if your competitors try to, sell them at a cheaper price, they should tell themselves, I won't buy from them because I belong to your clothing brand, right? Your clothing community already. So they should be like, each time they look at your competitors' ads at a cheaper price or whatever, like giving them like a heavy great offer, they should feel like, oh, I can't buy clothing from them because I'm already a part of this community already. This is the kind of emotions that you need to evoke in your ideal customers, right? Give your customers value status for wearing your clothing, right? What kind of emotion does your brand evoke in your ideal customers when they are wearing your clothing is the question that you exactly need to ask every single time, and get it so strongly answered that each time the question comes up, you'll be like, I know exactly what I evoke in my customers and why they should, stick with me and my community instead of my competitors who are pitching them on a cheaper price, right? So just as a final note, here's why customers buy and wear clothing. These are all these points out there, but if you are just like a lifestyle or like just a normal clothing brand that does not have a big USP, then all of these things do not apply to you. But if you do, then these do apply. Normally these are the three things that apply, right? Status, aesthetic of the apparel. Yes, the design matters. Does not mean that if you have like gray shadows and shitty clothing, no, it's not going to sell. Like, I mean, you need to have aesthetics, like in down pack, but that's not the only goal, right? Status, aesthetic apparel, and lastly, emotions. What kind of emotions do you evoke? This is the big one, right? Aesthetics, have that figured out right from the beginning. Status, emotion. These are the two strong things. If you get these things down packed, seven figures is like the standard. So make your customers feel so special for being in your community that they should almost act like it's their clothing brand and not just yours, right? This is when magic starts to happen. If you make your customers feel like this is their clothing, like it's our clothing, and it's not just you as the business owner that's running this clothing brand. Instead, it's your customers that also have own a portion of the brand, then things just start to just skyrocket. And it has we have seen this in our own experience, and it was a very great experience, to be honest. So hopefully you found this video valuable. The main takeaway from this video is basically build a movement around your brand. That's pretty much all I'd say. Build a movement, not just a clothing brand, because there are already millions and millions of clothing brands out there, and you just don't want to be another clothing brand that just sells like random apparel, right? So I hope you found this video valuable. If you did, just make sure to share this video with anyone that you think will benefit from it. And finally, do let me know in the comments what kind of videos do you want to watch next. I'll prepare make content around that. And that's pretty much it. I hope you found some value. Cheers, have a great day. Bye bye.